Hello friends, welcome back. In my last session, we have seen how to create a employee records into MySQL database using Springboot. In this session, we'll see how to fetch those values from the database and how to fetch the value based on the ID from the database. Let's go to the code. This is my controller. Already I have written my controller, that is employee controller. Inside employee controller already we have written a method to store the values into database. Let's write one more method to fetch all the stored values from the database. For that, declare public, and my response return type will be response entity of response fetch all employee records. Then I will not take any values as input argument, so return employee service dot fetch employee records. So this method we have to write into the service layer. So go to the employee service layer. Here write this method, and this method return type is response entity. And same go to the implementation class. In the implementation class, implement this method, and here we need to return the response entity. So response entity dot okay dot body, and inside the body we have to write the response as a type, return type, response dot builder dot code is equal to 00, and then dot message all employee records has been fetched dot body. Inside a body we need to call the employee repository dot find all. Employee repository is giving by default some methods, and out of those methods we need to use find all method, which will return list of employee as a type, and then this will return list of employees. So these values we need to map. So what we have to do is, let's write this separately. Cut, and then this return type is list of employee model employee list object is equal to shift O, just the dependency imports, then next to the next line dot stream. Okay, let's use next line find all. This will fetch all the values and it will assign the values to this employee object. So if this dot stream, let's remove if this condition, employee object dot stream dot map of model, this is lambda expression. So will fetch all the values, will fetch the employee model type, and this employee model type we cannot directly return to the end user. We cannot directly return this employee model from the service layer to controller. So what we have to do, we have to use the helper class as we have used before, dot dto mapper, and here we'll pass the employee model, then dot collect collectors dot, one second guys, I'm getting a call. Collectors dot as dot to list, and then return this object dot build. Now here we are fetching the values from the database, and this database and values we are iterating one by one, and we are setting to the DTO object mapper. By using DTO object mapper, we are setting all the values to DTO layer, and we are returning the values to end user. We are returning the values to controller. From controller it will return the value to end user. So from here save this, also save this one. Now run the program. Employee model from execute, programming running on 201. Let's go to the postman. Oh, we forgot one thing, controller. We need to give the mapping, we need to give the get mapping annotation, get mapping annotation slash get all employees. Save and rerun this. And what is the endpoint we have added? Is the endpoint and get. When we click on send, we're fetching all the values. All employee records has been fetched. Now we have only one record. Let's add another record. From here I can add another record. India, and I will put experience 10 and this. So let's create this employee, and this employee has been created. Let's go to the next tab and execute this. Here we have to fetch two records. See, this is first record, this is second record. Now let's see another example to fetch based on the ID. Let's copy, let's not waste the time. Let's copy this, paste slash ID. Based on this, we'll fetch based on the ID. Let me change, get employee by ID. So fetch, let me change the name, fetch employee record, and this value, whatever employee ID we are giving, that ID is the path variable. So we need to add the annotation, path variable annotation, and this is long ID. So let's pass this fetch employee record, pass this ID, go to the service layer and create this, copy this one and create, and it is taking long ID as argument. Go to the implementation class and implement this method and write the business logic. Let's copy this one. Let's not copy this. Let's write the business logic to fetch the record from the database. Okay, here to fetch all the records we have the existing field find all. To fetch one single record based on the ID, we have another method that is find by ID. You can use find by ID, and this ID we need to pass, and this will return optional of employee model. Optional of employee model type obj equal to. Now copy this one. Employee record has been fetched. So let's replace this dot stream dot value of this and DTO, and then no need of this one. It's not collection. So value we are fetching and we are returning to the object. Let's check whether this will work or not. Let me run this. Let me run the service again. So my service has been started. Go to the Postman and copy this URL. Come here, get employee by ID. ID is 1. If I pass 1, I need to fetch the first record. See, the first record is getting fetched. If I pass 2, the second record will get fetched. See, the second record is getting fetched. If I want to fetch all the records, I need to execute get all API endpoint, so it will fetch all the records which are registered in the database. Let's verify what are the values are registered in the database. What is our table name? Select star from t underscore implies the table. So execute. So we need to select the database name dot is the database name. See, we have two values stored in the database. When we execute the get all endpoint, when we are trying to fetch all the value from database, we have to execute the get all endpoint. It is returning all the values of the database. When I execute based on ID, it is returning the value based on ID. Thank you very much guys. Please practice, please watch my videos, and please subscribe.